Demon Souls is by far one of the hardest games ever made. So what is Demon Souls? Okay, so Demon Souls was this game that was created about, 3 years ago by publisher Atlus and developer From Software. So arguably this game has one of those reputations as being the hardest games ever created. You know, the game is kind of light on story, but basically you're this knight or this magician or whatever, and you're tasked with saving this realm that has released this giant demon called the Old One. You see, you start the game and you can play as one of several different classes. For instance, if you start as a wizard, you might have a high MP, but a low HP. Whereas if you start with a knight, you have this really kick-ass, armor, and you start with a high HP and a low MP. So there's a safe area called the Nexus, right? And if you die, this is where you go. This is kind of where all the worlds kind of connect. Not only have you got these amazing, huge bosses, but there are certain elements that make this game very, very difficult. For example, if you die, you lose half your health instantly. And you can only reclaim it if you have a special stone that lets you refill your life bar completely. You know, one of the things that makes this game so hard is that the currency in this game is souls, right? And you get them by killing enemies, which is obvious. But if you die, you lose all those souls. So let me tell you about my experiences playing Demon Souls. I actually started this game in June of 2011, and I went in not knowing anything, which is probably a dumb idea on my part. But if you don't go into this game without a strategy in mind, you are screwed. I started playing this, and I barely got through 1/3 or maybe close to half of the game. You know, I was stupid, I rushed things, and I didn't have a plan going into the game. And if someone tells you that they played through this game on their first try and made it to the end, they are bullshitting you. Now don't get me wrong, I'm sure there are a lot of people who have beaten Demon Souls time and time again, and for that, good job. If you die anywhere in the game, you lose all your souls. I mean, that's it. Now, every so often in any given world, you'll come across these dead soldiers, right? And they offer what are called hero souls or soldier souls. And these are worth maybe 200 souls a pop or 400 souls. But the important thing here is that if you die, you get to keep these if you return to the Nexus or when you return to the Nexus. So first thing, if you want to succeed at Demon Souls, the first thing is hoard all your souls. Hoard as many souls as you can. And make sure you have your shield up at all times. You'll be walking, da-da-da-da-da-da, and BAM! Sword in the face. Because you didn't have your shield up. And you're dead now. Another tip is there's a fantastic wiki, an English wiki online, and I would suggest reading up on that before you actually start playing this game if you want any chance of beating it. But basically when you're playing Demon Souls, every little bit helps. You see, I've been playing halfway through this game, and I've always had this catalyst, and I'm thinking to myself, what the fuck's a catalyst? I've never heard of a catalyst. It's a fucking wand. A catalyst is a wand. Why didn't they name it a wand? I don't know. So here I am for the most of the game, having no spells, no miracles. And what's even worse is, if you're too overpowered, or you're just entering a world again and again to farm souls, the game counteracts for that. It puts harder enemies in the game so that you can't do that anymore. This game is ball-bustingly hard. So you enter this castle, right, and you're thinking, oh yeah, everything's hunky-dory. Then there's like a 50-foot fucking knight! And then you enter the second world, and one of the bosses is a giant beast made of fire. How are you supposed to slay a beast made of fire? Tell me how. I don't know. So in World 3.1, right, there's this doll demon chick, right? And when I played it the first time around, I spent about 45 minutes trying to kill her. And I did. Only to realize she didn't die. Apparently you had to kill this old kind of gatekeeper near the boss area before even attempting to kill the demon, if you wanted to kill them. How the fuck am I supposed to know to kill that old guy before I kill the demon? How? How am I supposed to know that? And even after I play Demon Souls, there's another game. There's Dark Souls, which is supposed to be even harder. So why am I doing this video? I always felt guilty because I actually never beat the game. So recently I went back into it. So you can imagine my surprise when I went to replay this game and found the server still up, and given this message that they were going to shut down the servers forever on May 31st, 2012. Now, of course, I thought at this point the online servers would be down. Now, Demon's Souls is strictly a single-player experience, but there is an online component to it. So when Atlus's servers are shut down forever, how will this affect gameplay? So glad you asked. Well, it won't affect it terribly much, but it will affect it in several ways. Why don't we start with the bloodstains? You see, whenever you play in the game, you'll come across these bloodstains on the ground, and when you step over it, you can push the X button, and what will happen is a ghost figure in red of other players online will show how they died. And by doing this, it'll often offer you tips to avoid traps and avoid oncoming enemies and such. So how does this prepare you? Well, if you see how a person dies, you'll beware of traps ahead or of oncoming enemies if they're planning to ambush you. I mean, it's a little thing, but it is very important. Now, another way the online components will be affected is in any given game, you can write messages on the ground. Or sometimes you'll come across one that says, beware of a trap ahead. And you will, because, you know, they warned you. Now, probably the biggest change for the online component, now this one I haven't taken advantage of that much, and I really haven't used, so it's kind of hard to explain it. But basically, you can enter another person's game and help them at any given time or at any given boss. I haven't been able to do it, and I'm sure it's easier to do if I just read up on it, but I'm a lazy person. If the servers go down, it will give players a strategic disadvantage throughout the entire game, because obviously they can't enter their game online. It's subtle, but it's these little changes that make all the difference. So basically, why I wanted to make this video was to say thank you, Atlus, for keeping your servers as long as you did. Thank you for all the memories. Thank you for making me so angry I threw my controller across the room. Thank you for all the hacking and slashing. Thank you for all the sleepless nights trying to figure out how to defeat a demon boss. My point is, despite all that I rant about this game, this is actually one of my favorite games I've ever played in my life. So as I'm putting this video back together, I look up Kotaku, which is one of my favorite video game blogs, and there's a news blip that says Atlus will be extending their servers for Demon's Souls for the foreseeable future. The video game gods have answered my prayers. And there's even talks about a rumored threequel to the Demon's Souls franchise. Because apparently reports of Dark Souls sales are shooting through the roof. There's a PC port of Demon's Souls. I mean, if you're just tired of your Call of Duties or your Battlefields or your Gears of Wars or your Halos, not to single anyone out, give Demon's Souls a try, because it is so refreshing to play something that doesn't let up in the least. Thanks for watching. As always, feel free to rate, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Okay, for the record, it's Demon's Souls, not Demon Souls. Respect the game.